Hello and welcome to North Country Matters. My name is Donna Seymour. I'm a member of the St. Lawrence County League of Women Voters, one of the civic partners for our show. Today we have frequent guest Chelle Lindahl back in the studio with us. Chelle, welcome back to North Country Matters. We're going to be talking about the Local Living Ventures third annual Honey Harvest Hoedown.
Absolutely.
So let's talk a little bit about Local Living Venture and what you've been up to with that before we get into the Honey Hoedown, and just kind of give folks a little reprise of where you're at with Local Living Venture.
Okay, well, basically we are in a little bit of a hiatus right now. We're completely volunteer run, as so many small community organizations are, and so when your main volunteers have other things to do, sometimes things can hit a little snag. Sure. We had been doing up to 60 workshops a year, and our regular bee group meetings for people interested in keeping bees and other types of things like that. But and that continues. And those programs continue. The pollinator protection program that we'll get into later, that continues. Our renewable energy and home tours are coming up on October 5th. So, you know, it's not like we've gone away by any means.
But you've slowed down a little bit in terms of...
the workshops.
Yeah, the workshops.
The workshops.
Right.
They took, I mean, I'm a volunteer, and I would spend 30 to 40 hours a week and sometimes more on workshops alone. And, you know, that's a full-time job. And then I'm running the rest of the organization with help from others. But, you know, one of our main board members, Regis, he and his wife just had a beautiful baby in the last year.
And that will take away some of your free time.
And, you know, and other people's situations. I'm, you know, involved in some other things in my personal life right now that just made it so that I said, okay, no more workshops for a little while. Hopefully they will resume on a regular basis. We're doing one here or there, but hopefully they'll resume on a regular basis. Although I will say, you know, we need new energy in the organization, and we are seeking new board members, and or if you don't want to make that deep of a commitment, just volunteers, come and help put on a workshop or do an event and that kind of thing. And we are planning to start, one of the best things we do, in my opinion, is the bulk food fiesta. And we usually do it at the Presbyterian Church here in Potsdam because they've got a really big kitchen with lots of counter space. And we get donations from, you know, Nature's Storehouse, the Potsdam Co-op, local farmers have been very generous, Dan Kent and Dan Martin and others. And like the one we've done most often is the fall squash kind of thing. And basically we just get boxes and boxes, and we teach people how to cook these items, whatever it may be. We do a different theme and not just squash. We teach people how to cook them, but it's not so much like a class. It's actually more like a free-for-all of people sharing information. Well, I do it this way and I've done that, and you just learn so much more that way about cooking skills. So we really encourage teenagers and young people to attend the event because they're going to get an education in how to take care of themselves once they're on their own.
Sort of like being in Grandma's kitchen, right? And watching her take care of the harvest.
And very hands-on too. And then we all, you know, we cook this meal together, we share it as a group, and we make so much that we encourage people to bring to-go containers, and they can bring it home and freeze it or store it in the fridge for later meals. So it's kind of a really, like, multiple benefits come out of this thing, and it's so much fun. And so we'll be resuming those this fall. Okay, good.
So, well, that will be something to look forward to then.
And people can get on our newsletter to learn more about that, and if you just email locallivingventure@gmail.com.
Right, and I'll be sure to have the website in the show notes for people as well.
Wonderful.
Absolutely. So let's talk a little bit about, this is the third annual Honey Harvest Hoedown.
Yes.
It's going to be on September 28th, which is only a couple of weeks away.
That's right.
And it's at SUNY Potsdam. So who are your partners for this this particular Hoedown.
Well, not just for the Hoedown, but for the program as a whole. This is a project of Local Living Venture, the Wagner Center at SUNY Potsdam. That is the Wagner, oh boy, I'm gonna have to, I think you wrote it down.
I did,
right?
yes.
Wagner Institute for Sustainability and Ecological Research, okay. That's the greenhouse that you see on Barrington Drive and on campus. That's part of the biology department, and it's in Stowell Hall. So they're hosting the event physically, and they are one of our partners in the program, along with the St. Regis Mohawk Environment Division. And Wayne Samfier and Tasha Akins are really wonderful resources. So the three of us are the hosts and sponsors of this event, and then we're also being helped out significantly by the SUNY Potsdam Environmental Club. So we appreciate that, and student volunteers and interns and all kinds of fun folks.
Right, and one of the nice things about the North Country is that we have 4 colleges and universities up here in St. Lawrence County, and each one of them works on sustainability and ecology, don't they? So there's this entire group of young people who are concerned and thinking about these issues that are spread throughout the college communities.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So a lot of energy, a lot of young energy, and as we know, the climate strike is actually coming up later this week, and that
I was just thinking of that, yeah.
Yeah, and that's something that young people have completely taken the lead on,
Yes.
and as well they should,
I'm thinking maybe I should be, I plan to show up for some of those events. Maybe I should be doing a little recruitment for this.
Yeah, that
as a way
sounds
to
like a good
put
idea.
that energy in a positive direction too, you know?
So tell us about, it's going to be at the Wagner Center at the greenhouse,
Correct.
and the hours are?
From 3 to 5,
Okay.
and then there's an optional tour, and we will have campus vans to shuttle people to the Cecily Garden. It's very close by,
Right.
but we'll be able to do that, or people can drive their own cars if they have to leave earlier or something like that.
And just remind people what the Cecily Garden is.
Well, Cecily Garden, and gosh, now I don't remember the lovely lady who it's
Cecily
named for.
Fletcher.
Okay.
Cecily Fletcher,
Yes, and she passed away at some point,
Right.
15 years ago,
Probably something like that, yeah.
I was contacted at the time because I ran the community garden at my property on Main Street nearby, and the students that wanted to honor her by having this garden in the park there contacted me for a little input on how to go about doing it, and so that it's been taken over first by the UU Church's U-Share program, and now it's back. The Wagner Center has taken it over, and the idea is to provide food for the community through the neighborhood center right here in this building
That's
that
right.
we're taping in.
That's
But
right.
yeah, so it's a lovely spot. It's right on the river, and they have beehives set up there. They have a pollinator garden going there, and of course the vegetable garden that provides food.
So
for
it
the
will be a
neighborhood center.
showcase for exactly what the Honey Hoedown is meant to showcase,
Exactly,
isn't it? That's
yes,
perfect.
yes.
That's perfect.
And I should mention, this is a good time to mention that anybody that comes to the Honey Harvest Hoedown, and it is free, and all ages, the kids have a wonderful time at this, as well as the adults, but anybody who's interested can get one of these Pollinator Pal seed packs. Be a Pollinator Pal.
Right, which we'll go into those details in a little
Okay.
bit later. So tell us what, you've got 2 hours, what's on the schedule of events? It's
Oh, it's so fun.
it's a family-friendly,
Yes, yes.
educational opportunity. So what are folks gonna be able to chance to do?
Basically what we do, and so we do encourage people to try to show up at 3 if they
Right.
can, because otherwise you're kind of coming in the middle of this thing. It's a series of round robins. It's kind of like musical chairs, and we actually have a wonderful Northern Southern Old Time Society bluegrass acoustic group that will be there, and they'll be playing music during the intervals. And so we'll be doing rotating stations. We'll split the groups up into 3 or 4 groups and start them at each station, and then there'll be 10 or 15 minutes at each place, musical interval, everybody shifts to the next station, and you go round and round. The stations are, in one station, we will be harvesting honey from the frames in the little machine that does that, and talking about keeping managed bees, such as honeybees. Then there will be a station where we'll be discussing how to plant a garden, and some of the specifics of that. Another station, and this is the one the kids really love, me too, is the microscopes. And we have all these trays of fun pollinator bugs, and they can look at all these bugs under the light there, under the microscope. And then we'll be showing some plants. Marianne Cataforas, one of our intrepid, wonderful gardeners here in town, will be bringing some plants to show, what kinds of things they can be growing. And then last but not least, Pacey's Dining Hall, who actually is another partner in this event, is providing honey-based treats. And so we'll all kind of end up there. There will be short films being shown during this that people can kind of, nosh and watch films and chat with their neighbors and that kind of thing. So it's always such a fun event. We all have a great time there.
Well, food, fun, education.
Bugs?
Bugs? What's not to love? Yeah, absolutely. So, one of the things that we know is that honey is the reward the bees give us when we do our part to provide them with a safe environment and give them the space they need to be pollinators. But as you'd mentioned with some of the bugs on display, honeybees are not the only part of the pollinator family, are they?
Absolutely.
And so let's talk a little bit about some of those other types of pollinators, because they're just as important to making sure we have food to eat when they can do their job.
Absolutely. The honeybee, the monarch butterfly, they kind of get all the press,
right?
And for good reason. They are endangered, but so is every other species, and this is what the climate strike is about in part. We're looking at the extinction of many of these species. Now, why does that matter to us people? Actually, 30% of our food crops that are grown are pollinated by managed honeybees and other pollinators. Look at your dinner plate.
Right.
1/3 of what is on there comes directly from that pollination service.
And think about what that would mean when that 1/3 disappears.
Goes away. Some of your favorite foods are probably on there, including chocolate. And actually, it's even bigger than that, because 70% roughly of all plants are pollinated by insects. So, and many other plants have other benefits to us besides food. So, this is pretty huge. We don't want to lose our pollinators.
No, and it's interesting. I was reading an article just today that not only are the pollinators at risk from many of these pesticides and all that are being sprayed, but many species of birds are also being affected by that, and we know some birds are actually pollinators.
Yeah.
So we're
very
talking
few up here, actually, mostly just the hummingbird, and the bats up here don't pollinate either, but they are pollinators in other, specifically like South America and that kind of thing. So where we get a lot of our food.
Absolutely.
We also have beetles and flies, and there's a lot of critters that are helping out with this, and we may not like the flies so much, but some of them are doing a service.
Well, and part of it is that these pollinators are often invisible to us because we don't know that's one of their functions and their roles, and so when you begin to understand that, you're not quite as quick to get out a can of Raid, are you?
Let me
start
tell you,
spraying things.
I took a course in pollinator identification at the Wild Center over the summer, which was wonderful, and it was for a program in New York State that is using iNaturalist, which is a site that you can send in photos, and if you ask them to, they will identify what the pollinator is, and it's more than just bugs, and all kinds of natural things. But that program, it just really it made me look at bugs so differently. Now a bug lands on me and I'm not, the automatic, oh, I'm looking at it, how many wings does it have? And so I really got a new perspective on bugs, and it's been wonderful. I've enjoyed that very much.
So we've talked before on the show about the Pollinator Protector Program, but this is a perfect time to talk about it again, and in particular because you're going to be giving out some of these seed packets. So talk a little bit about where the seed packets have come from and how those are being distributed.
Well, I should mention that this is made possible by a grant that the Weiser Center received from the Alcoa Foundation. They have been paying for all of our brochures and the seeds and the seed packets and beautiful banners and lovely things like that to help get the word out. What this contains is a wildflower mix that is all pollinator friendly. It's all native pollinator mix. I think there's 27 different seeds in here. It is set up to be successive bloom, so you always have something going, which is really a nice thing. You don't kind of have just this field going. And this will plant a 2x9 kind of thing, something about as big as this table or something. But
so if you've got a nice space somewhere that needs a little brightening up, that would be perfect.
And or maybe a slightly larger space, and we can give out more than just this seed packet's worth of seed if you give us dimensions. I think we can do up to like maybe 1/10 of an acre, because we were doing more than that and the seed supply started going, whoa,
Right.
So you have to conserve
and the point of this is to make these plantings as widely spaced as we can so that pollinators, no matter where they are, have something friendly to go to.
There are some pollinators, and now honeybees have an area that they will cover of up to 5 or 6 miles. There are some pollinators that will not go more than 3 blocks. So the idea of the project is to get as many wildflower plots in the North Country, in St. Lawrence County specifically, and like maybe a little around the edges, so that we have resources for those pollinators that only go 3 blocks in some cases. So and it's, the nice thing about doing this is that you don't have to mow that spot during the summer. And if you want to, you can mow it once at the end of the year just to make it look tidy. Some people care about that, other people don't. You don't have to do that, but that's all you do. And once it gets going, it can take 4 or 5 years for a plot to really
self-seed.
Yeah, well, it should be self-seeding, but to really come to its full bloom, shall we say,
where the plants are really thickly spread on the ground.
Exactly, yeah. But actually, it's the SUNY Potsdam Child Care Center, right behind the SUNY Potsdam campus. We did a planting there this summer, and we did one part that has like seed plugs, little seedlings in there, and then another part that we scattered the seed. And boy, oh boy, it's nice. Packed full. It looks great too.
Well, that's nice, and this is something that you can do in your yard, you can do in your neighborhood, no matter where it is. I was interested to read a little earlier this year that in Ohio, the highway crews are leaving a lot of the verges of the roads to go into wilds, because they're trying to do something with the pollinators there and not mowing straight.
Please, New York State.
Yeah. Oh. So these are things that, these are official departments of a state who have begun to take on the responsibility of helping out the pollinators. And of course, every time you do a demonstration project like that, somebody else hears about it and then says, we can do that here.
We can do that too.
We can do that here.
Really, it's saving a lot of money for them if they're not doing all that mowing, And
it looks nice.
Yeah.
It looks nice.
And up here, we do a lot of the roadside spraying.
Right.
Which kills indiscriminately.
Exactly.
So that's something that some folks locally are trying to deal with too. So.
Well, small steps. And we've made a lot of progress just with these kinds of projects in terms of educating people, and that's how you make change, is by getting people changing their minds. So this is your 3rd year for the honey Hoedown, which is kind of the culminating project for this particular thing. How has the program grown, and what are you thinking about for next season in order to take those next steps, Shelley?
Well, you know, really, I have to say, we're still in our infancy. Again, volunteers, you know, there's only a few of us working on the project. This summer, we had an intern, and this fall, we have some interns that are working on it, and we've made huge steps forward. Getting our databases in place, you know, all of those things behind the scenes that have to happen for something to be effective.
Right.
We've really gotten it together this summer, so I'm very excited about that.
You've grown the base, and now you can start to
now
move.
we can start to really blossom a little bit, yes. And so, you know, really the thing is getting the mapping out there. We're going to GIS map where all of these plots are. So when you sign up to get a seed packet, we ask where you are planting it so that we can get you a spot on the map. And then we can start to determine where are the holes. Maybe we can go in and you know, do some kind of reconnaissance of sites that are already pollinator sites, natural pollinator sites, get those as an overlay on the map and that kind of thing. But perhaps the most exciting thing that's coming up is that the summer intern worked on creating web pages at Nature Up North, which is a program out of St. Lawrence University. And so when people sign up for the Pollinator Pals, we will direct them to that page, and there they can enter themselves on the map, actually, and put in the information about where they are and what they're doing. And Nature Up North site, for those that aren't familiar with it, it's a wonderful site for other reasons. Any sightings that you do, hikes that you're on, plants you see, bugs, any natural phenomena that you see in the North Country, they encourage you to send a picture in and a little description of it, and it's really a fun site to check out too. So this will be kind of a little pollinator corner of that site. So we're very excited about that. It's not quite up yet, but any time now, and we'll be announcing that for anybody that's on our newsletter. We'll be sending out links for that.
Good, and of course you have a great Facebook presence as well, and you do a lot with social media to keep the people that are interested in your work connected.
Yes, so we're Local Living Venture is our Facebook page, so you can always find us there, and we put all of our events up there and some fun posts and things too. Well,
thank you, Shelley. It's always fun to have you to come in to talk to, because the Local Living Venture is always doing interesting things, and people who get involved in the work that you're doing always come away very enriched personally, as well as we make more converts for, like, the Pollinator Protection Program, which can't have too many pollinator protectors.
That's right, yes.
So any final thoughts as we wrap up?
Well, just anybody that's interested, if you can't make it on the 28th from 3 to 5, certainly do go to the bit.ly site, bit.ly/pollinator program, and you have to capitalize the P's for some reason. But, and check out what it's all about and how you can get involved. And if you'd like to get involved with the Local Living Venture, that'll be our website. You can find us there.
That sounds great. Thank you for coming in today, Shelley.
Thank you, Donna. It's always fun.
Well, it is fun, and you know, I'm hoping that you get a good crowd on the 28th, which is a Saturday, and with any luck, there will be plenty of honey-themed treats for the entire crowd. No one will go hungry.
No, that's right, or thirsty.
Or thirsty. Okay, thanks a lot. So these conversations are a production of North Country Matters, which is filmed here in the Fred W. Cleveland Computer Center of the Potsdam Public Library. This show is a civic collaboration between the League of Women Voters of St. Lawrence County and the Potsdam Public Library. Until next time, remember, our North Country matters, and so do our pollinators.
That's right.
Thanks, Shelley.